During a time that should have been a post-pandemic economic recovery, we are instead faced with the biggest squeeze in living standards in a generation. With inflation at double digits and yet to peak, coupled with soaring energy bills, public bodies will be forced to make some very tough choices. In this year's performance tracker, we assess how 9 public services have coped with the after effects of the pandemic and examine the outlook for the remainder of this parliament. We find that despite spending on public services having increased massively during the pandemic, the performance of those sectors has declined significantly. While the 2021 spending review settlement was relatively generous, with budgets projected to increase by 3.5% for the 9 services performance tracker covers, this has fallen to 1.5% as a result of inflation and higher pay awards. The settlement is now unlikely to be sufficient to meet growing demand. Hospitals, criminal courts, and prisons are the worst affected, with all 3 services unable to carry on with business as usual during the pandemic, resulting in increased demand, backlogs, and waiting times. Perhaps the biggest problem is that backlogs can't generally be solved with one-off funding injections. There simply aren't enough staff to go around. Doctors, judges, prison officers, and social care workers cannot be magicked out of thin air. In this year's performance tracker, we make several recommendations which we believe would address some of the challenges government is facing while delivering value for money. The Trust government faces some very difficult decisions. Its fate at the next election will in part depend on how well public services have recovered from the pandemic and how they cope with inflationary challenges. This year's report is a powerful reminder of the need for good public financial management to weather the storms of uncertainty ahead. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy reading our report.